Moe requests the holiday to be extended for a week. Number of corona patients in the country rises to 28. Minister Bandula says no decision to extend public holidays. Will elections be postponed?
මැතිවරණය කල් දැමිය යුතුය කියන මතයේ දැනට අපි තීන්දුවකට එළඹිලා නැහැ. අද පවත්නා තත්ත්වයට නාම යෝජනා බාර ගැනීම සිදු කරනවා.
SLFP decides to contest 4 districts separately under the symbol of the hand. Partali's revelation on an illegal circular.
Hello there and a very good evening. You're watching Primetime News on TV1 for the News First team. I'm Dasani. Now tonight's top story is the coronavirus outbreak here in Sri Lanka. So we here at News First have a comprehensive report on the latest developments, and News First Jaimal Ratnayaka also joins us from the newsroom for the very latest. Good evening, Jaimal.
Good evening, Dasni, and a very good evening to all our viewers as well. Now, I'm very sure that all of you are very eager to know about the latest updates from the coronavirus pandemic. Now, let me read out to you a statement issued by the President's Media Division, and this statement issued by the President's Media Division said that the government has decided to restrict the movement of public surrounding prisons across the country due to growing concerns over COVID-19 or the novel coronavirus. However, it adds that all necessary measures are in place for banking, trade and commercial activities to take place in a normal manner without any hindrances. Now, as per the directive of President Gotabaya Rajapaksa, the task force to combat COVID-19 has been set up in Rajagiriya in Colombo, and the government expects the general public to comply with these measures that have been put in place and understand the situation properly and to support the government's efforts in combating the COVID-19 outbreak. Now, in more updates, Sri Lankan Airlines has requested some of its staff members to self-quarantine after a first officer tested positive for COVID-19. Furthermore, the Ministry of Defence requests anyone who arrives from Europe, Iran and South Korea between the 1st and the 15th of March to register with their nearest police station, and the Ministry of Defence further states that action can be taken against those who fail to comply to this emergency measure. Now, in more updates by this evening, we reported that the number of coronavirus patients in Sri Lanka had risen, and it had risen by 4. But as of now, the total number of coronavirus patients being treated in Sri Lanka has risen to 28. So let's have a look.
A 73-year-old patient tested positive for COVID-19 at the Karapitiya Teaching Hospital today. 3 other patients tested positive for the virus at the National Institute of Infectious Diseases.
A 13-year-old girl and 2 men, one aged 50 and the other aged 37. Yesterday, one person who toured Germany and arrived in the country tested positive for COVID-19. The person who travelled with him was also identified as a corona patient on the 12th of this month. Our staff had located him and informed him to admit himself to the IDH. He had gone to the Borello hospital, and afterwards he had gone to a private hospital and conducted a PCR test. But the results of the test at the hospital only come in 3 days. In the end, after being intimidated, he had admitted himself to the Colombo South Teaching Hospital. As per our knowledge, he is a gem businessman and he is also a resident of Mount Lavinia. So you can now understand how irresponsibly he had acted. We will take legal action against him and his wife. Another patient, identified as a COVID-19 patient, he had toured the United Kingdom and arrived in the island on the 10th. After he fell sick, he had not entered the healthcare system of the government. He had gone to a private hospital and conducted the PCR test, and he tested positive for COVID-19. Although he was a COVID-19 patient, they had only taken steps to confine themselves to their homes. This person is also not a poor person. If people keep on using private hospitals to conduct these tests and staying at various locations, we won't be able to control this situation. These laboratories have not been validated to conduct this test because this is a new virus.
මේ පරීක්ෂණය සම්බන්ධයෙන් වැලිඩේට් වෙලා නැහැ. මොකද මේක නව විස බීජයක්.
One of the patients who tested positive for COVID-19 today is a 13-year-old daughter of the tour guide who was the second corona patient identified in Sri Lanka. The other is an official working at the Bandaranaike International Airport. Commander of the Army, Lieutenant General Shavindu Silva, said that 1,700 people, including foreigners, are currently under quarantine at facilities located across the island. According to the Army Commander, 12 quarantine facilities have been set up in the island.
Now, the first coronavirus patient who tested positive for the virus in Sri Lanka was reported from the 11th of March, who was a certain Sri Lankan, and on the 11th of March he was tested positive for the coronavirus and admitted to hospital, and as of today 28 people have been confirmed to have contracted the coronavirus. Now, this is a steady incline from day to day that we have witnessed in Sri Lanka in the number of patients of coronavirus increasing. Now, a steep incline in the number of patients is a common factor among many countries that have suffered from this coronavirus pandemic. When directing our attention to China, which is thought to be the epicenter of this outbreak, at the start of January, 554 cases had been recorded in mainland China, and by the 26th of January it had risen to 2,613 confirmed cases, and by the 30th of January it had spiked to 9,308 cases. By the 3rd of February, however, it was 19,383 cases, and by the 17th of February, the number of cases of coronavirus in China had been confirmed at 58,000, and that is where the number of coronavirus cases has peaked. Thereon, the number of reported coronavirus cases on a daily basis has reduced, and as of now in China, the number of total coronavirus patients stands at 9,800. Now, to get a better view or a better picture regarding the situation in China, we spoke to Dr. Yasaswilyanarachi. Here are his sentiments.
Yesterday, only 16 new patients have been reported from China, and many people among these 16 patients are Chinese nationals who had arrived in China from other countries. How did China reduce the number of patients to this level? One reason is how they quarantine the people. They set up a mechanism to test the people who enter certain areas, and they also brought in laws to take strict action against people who provide authorities with false information regarding their health. This is how China contained this epidemic.
මම යශස්විලි නාරච්චි Newsfirst වෙනුවෙන් චීනයේ සිට.
Now, the statistics we brought to you earlier were the statistics of that in China. Directing your attention to another country that has been suffering severely from the coronavirus pandemic is Italy, where when comparing the stats of Italy to that of China, there is a stark contrast in the statistics. Now, in Italy, only 3 patients had been recorded by the 15th of February. However, by the 20th of February, it had only risen by a solitary patient. Now, when looking at the stats further on in Italy, by the 21st of February, it had jumped all the way to 19 patients, and that is an increase of 15 patients from the start of February to the 21st of February. By the 24th of February, the cases or the total number of coronavirus cases in Italy had jumped to 221, and by the 27th, it had further increased to 593. Now, the 1st of March sees the largest spike in Italy's coronavirus history, and that is the total number had been confirmed at 1,577 cases of coronavirus reported from Italy on the 1st of March. By the 4th of March, it had risen all the way to 2,706, and by the 7th of March, the reported cases stood at 5,601, and as of yesterday, the total number of cases of coronavirus reported in Italy stood at 20,603 cases, and as you can see, Italy's coronavirus cases have not peaked in comparison to China, which means that Italy still has not been able to curtail the dissemination or the spread of the coronavirus pandemic. Therefore, we cannot see the reported cases in Italy reducing as of now. We also spoke to Neil Rajapaksa, who is reporting to us from Verona in Italy.
The Italian government informed the general public to only leave their houses for urgent matters, but the public did not heed these warnings, and although schools were closed down, children gathered and played together, and others visited parks and playgrounds. That was one of the reasons for the spread of the virus. Another reason was that this is a highly populated region where people live in apartments. Although Italy has an advanced healthcare system, the Italian government is facing challenges to provide intensive care to thousands of patients affected by the virus.
දහත් සංඛ්‍යාවකට එකවර එමසේ වේ ලබා දීම ඉතාලි රජයට මේ වන විට ඇති අභියෝගයයි.
Now, after looking at the stats of Italy, we move on to South Korea. South Korea used to be one of the countries that had successfully curtailed the dissemination or the spread of the coronavirus pandemic. However, there is an interesting story behind the number of cases of confirmed coronavirus patients increasing in South Korea, and let me dictate that to you. In the space of a couple of weeks, South Korea has gone from dealing with a few cases in coronavirus to thousands, and now it finds itself in the throes of an outbreak of coronavirus patients. Now, the story behind the spike in the number of coronavirus patients in South Korea can be dated back to a patient addressed or dubbed as patient 31, also known as a super spreader. Now, this particular lady who had met with an accident had gone and received treatment from a South Korean hospital, and she had shown symptoms synonymous with that of the coronavirus. However, she had refused to undergo the coronavirus test, stating that she had not been overseas as per the instructions provided by the South Korean government. And she had been discharged from the hospital the very next day following treatments to her wounds suffered from the road accident. However, the lady, who is a member of a fringe church in South Korea, had attended a church service on a later date, and it is reported that around 9,300 people had attended this church service the same day that she attended. By the time it was confirmed that she had in fact contracted the coronavirus, around 1,200 other people who had attended the church service had also shown similar symptoms of coronavirus. Now, it should also be reported that around 63.5% of the total number of coronavirus patients in South Korea are those who had attended this particular church service, which was attended to by patient 31 or the super spreader. Now, it should also be noted at this juncture that these are three countries that have handled the coronavirus pandemic in various ways. China has managed to successfully curtail the spread of the virus, and there are examples and statistics to prove. And Italy is still trying to find new ways to curtail the spread of the coronavirus, and South Korea, which had been carrying out a brilliant job at curtailing the coronavirus pandemic, had failed due to the unlawfulness of one citizen in their country. Therefore, it is advised that since Sri Lanka is also suffering from a certain outbreak of corona patients, it is advised that our citizens are mindful and they follow all the measures that are taken by the government. Now, earlier today, there was a press briefing organized at the Government Information Department, and Director General of Health Services, Dr. Anil Jasinghe, spoke at the press briefing.
දැන් අපේ රට ගත්තත් අපේ රටෙත් වාර්තා වන ස්වභාවය සහ ඉතාලියේ ස්වභාවය පළවෙනි සතිය ඇතුළත සංසන්දනය කරද්දී එකම ස්වභාවයක් තියෙනවා රෝගීන් වාර්තාවේම.
We cannot compare Italy and Sri Lanka, but we must study the spread of the virus.
තේරුම් අරගෙන ඒවා මේ අධ්‍යයනය කළ යුතුයි.
Investigations are underway to institute legal action against those who spread false information.
මේ අසත්‍ය ප්‍රචාර ගෙන
We are conducting an investigation to identify those who are spreading misinformation. We uncovered details about two people who were spreading false information. One of the suspects is Nimanda Priyadarshana. He had posted on Facebook stating that the coronavirus had caused 3 deaths in Sri Lanka, 2 at the IDH and 1 in Polonnaruwa. He had spread information like this on social media. The other suspect is Dushmanta Amila. He too had spread similar misinformation to intimidate the general public. Dushmanta was arrested by the Criminal Investigations Department in Ragama today. The suspect, named Nimanda Priyadarshana, was arrested in Bandaragama at 4:30 this morning. Action will be instituted against them under the provision of the Penal Code. Steps will be taken to produce the suspects at Colombo Chief Magistrates Court and remand them. We have identified 880 people connected to such incidents.
බලාපොරොත්තු වෙනවා. මේ සියලු කාරණාවලට අදාළව පුද්ගලයන් 880 දෙනෙක් අපි හඳුනාගෙන තියෙනවා.
Now, as you know, Sri Lanka is a very small country comparing to other countries such as South Korea, China and Italy. Now, although Sri Lanka rather is a very small country, we have 613 government hospitals distributed across the island, as well as 200 registered private hospitals. Now, out of all these hospitals, the IDH hospital, or the infectious diseases hospital, is spearheading the battle against the coronavirus outbreak. And it should be mentioned that although Sri Lanka does not have, as you may recall, China constructed a specific hospital that is dedicated to treat coronavirus patients within the span of several days. However, Sri Lanka being the country we are, we do not have the economics and other means to follow such measures. However, it should be noted that with effective utilization of our resources, we can curtail the spread of the coronavirus. We know how it is our opinion that private hospitals too take this as an opportunity to give back to society and consider this a social responsibility and aid government officials in combating the coronavirus outbreak. Moving on now, convening a media briefing today, the Government Medical Officers Association stressed that the government should act immediately to curb the spread of the coronavirus. Now, let's take a look.
Doctors in Italy are saying that when many people in critical condition come to the hospital, they see people dying before their eyes. They do not have ICUs or ventilator beds. If this happened in Italy, what would happen in Sri Lanka? What is the point in declaring a public holiday for one single day? Isn't there a need to extend this holiday to tomorrow or even the day after? At least isn't there a need to lock down the areas including the Gampaha district and Negombo, just like what was done in Wuhan? Why is there a delay? Just like the airports was closed down, it is extremely important to close down the areas that have been affected by the virus.
Now, the government has responded to the request made by the GMOA requesting for a longer period of leave be granted to all those working.
Many issues arise when a public holiday is announced. An election was announced as well. So we will observe this situation during these few days, and if the situation continues to aggravate, we will reach a decision on Friday regarding the matter. I must clearly state we do not intend on announcing a public holiday for the remainder of this week, as a function of the government must be carried out. We do not intend to extend the public holiday. We expect this issue will end before the election. All our divisions are working towards that goal. According to the Director General of Health Services, the situation can be controlled if the quarantine process is carried out properly during these 14 days.
හෙට දිනේදී ආයෙත් රාජකාරී දිනයක් බවට ප්‍රකාශයට පත් කළා තියෙනවා. ඒතකොට බස් වල කෝච් වල තමයි මිනිස්සු ගමන් කරන්නේ. ඒතකොට මිනිස්සු මේ හරහා එක්කාසු වීමක් නෙමෙයිද සිද්ධ වෙන්නේ.
ඒතකොට දැන් ලේකම්තුමා කියපු ආකාරයට අපි මේ ඉදිරි දින 3 තුල මේ සතිය තුල අනිත් හැසිරීම් තුලත් ඒ විශාල වර්ධනයක් වෙනවද කියන එකත් බලලා ඒ ලැබෙන කරුණු අනුව ගන්න තීන්දුව తీරන හැම දිනකම අපි ප්‍රකාශයට පත් කරනවා.
Now, many measures are being taken across the island by various authorities to curb and combat the spread of the coronavirus outbreak, and one such measure is the Judicial Services Commission saying that all courts in the country will not take up calling cases within the next 4 days in open court. Now, the Judicial Services Commission reached this decision following a meeting between Chief Justice Jayantha Jayasuriya and Justices Buwaneka Aluvihare and Sisira Diabro. The Judicial Services Commission in the statement said rescheduled dates of the calling cases would be announced via the publications of by the registrar of the respective courts during the first week of April. It added, however, urgent and essential matters will continue to be heard based on applications of the parties involved in the particular matters. Now, as a preventive measure against the spread of COVID-19 or the novel coronavirus, all private and public buses were sterilized today.
45 employees attached to the National Transport Commission were engaged in sterilizing the private and SLTB bus depots.
We have made plans for the next 2 weeks and we request the general public who use the bus depots to use water taps that have been installed to wash your hands before entering the buses.
Meanwhile, SLTB buses were sterilized today at the Colombo main bus depot.
We will be providing the equipment and solutions required for sterilization. All buses across the country will be sterilized. One employee has been attached to each bus depot until the coronavirus is under control.
Our correspondent said that the buses in other provinces as well were sterilized. This is how buses were sterilized in Anuradhapura, Kandy, Hatton and Kurunegala bus depots.
මේක තමයි වෙන්න ඕනේ. තවත් මේ දෙක මේ වැඩි කරන්න ඕනේ කියන එක. පරක්කු වැඩි මන්නම් කියන්නේ. මේ වැඩේ කරගෙන යන්න. මිනිස්සු ටික බේරගන්න අපේ තින් යුතුයකමක්.
පොදු ස්ථානේ තින් අනිවාර්යයෙන්ම කරන්න ඕනේ. මොකද පොදු 80ක් විතර මහ ජනතාව කොහොමත් සහභාගී වෙනවනේ පොදු ස්ථානකට.
Meanwhile, trains that were used by about 500,000 commuters daily have not been sterilized. The Railways General Manager said that although the department had requested for the equipment required for sterilization, they had not received it as of yet.
Now, the Government Medical Officers Association, or the GMOA, has addressed a letter to President Gotabaya Rajapaksa. Chairman Dr. Anuruddha Padaniya and Secretary Dr. Haritha Alutge had signed this letter. This letter focuses on 7 factors that need to be considered given the prevailing situation in the country. Now, limiting the entry of people through ports and airports in the country, and also to take steps to completely shut down the Katunayake airport are some of the recommendations given in this particular letter. Secondly, instructing suspected patients not to seek treatment at ordinary hospitals is yet another recommendation which has been addressed in this letter. The third factor is, or recommendation, is to upgrade facilities at hospitals to face an epidemic in the future. Further on, the fourth factor is to ensure the safety of medical staff. The fifth one being publish guidelines on this global epidemic. The sixth factor being quarantine certain locations in the country similar to what was done in Wuhan and in Italy. And the final recommendation is to control the acts of sabotage conducted by certain medical staff with close connection for Dr. Rajasena Ratna for political reasons. Now, these are the 7 recommendations which have been cited by the Government Medical Officers Association, or the GMOA, in a letter they had addressed to President Gotabaya Rajapaksa. Now, this letter has been signed by its chairman, Dr. Anuruddha Padaniya, and its secretary, Dr. Haritha Alutge. Moving on, the airport, talking about the airport, or the Bandaranaike International Airport in particular, Chairman of the Airport and Aviation Services, retired Major General G.A. Chandrasiri, says there is no need for the Bandaranaike International Airport to be closed.
We will not close down the international airport. We are continuing our operations under strict supervision. We have made the necessary arrangements for the passengers to arrive to the island. I don't think that there is a need for the airport to be closed down. Passengers arriving in the country from 13 countries have been placed under a mandatory 2-week quarantine, and questions were raised as to how it would affect the airline staff and crew. The Sri Lankan Airlines and the other airlines are taking necessary measures with regard to the quarantine of the crew. The quarantine of cabin crew does not come under airport and aviation, but under Sri Lankan Airlines. The chemical, biological, radiological, nuclear and explosive wing of the Sri Lanka Air Force continues to assist in the quarantine and disinfecting effort with the medical teams at the Bandaranaike International Airport.
Now, we brought you insights regarding various decisions taken and various measures that are being adhered by various officials of the government, including the defense sector and the health sector, including border protection, border control sectors, and various spheres of the government. Now, here are some other decisions reached in light of the recent coronavirus outbreak.
The Ministry of Foreign Affairs has decided to limit diplomatic services at consulates in 11 countries. The 11 countries are Italy, Iran, South Korea, France, Spain, Germany, Switzerland, Denmark, the Netherlands, Sweden and Austria. The Director General of Immigration and Emigration has requested the general public not to visit the Department of Immigration and Emigration unless it is absolutely essential. Medical officers also informed the general public to only visit the eye hospital for essential matters. The Department of Museums has decided to close down 11 museums resumes from today. The Government Information Department announced the issuing of driver's licenses will be suspended until the 31st of March. The deadline for entry applications for the advanced level examination and the Grade 5 scholarship examinations has been extended till the 31st of March. Applications can only be submitted online. The one-day service for the issuance of the national identity cards has been suspended indefinitely from tomorrow.
Now, one of the reasons as to why the coronavirus outbreak has been very hard to curtail is because there is a lack of medication for this, or medical procedures for this particular coronavirus. Now, as a result, many people, many communities have turned to alternative medication in order to find cures for the coronavirus outbreak. Now, the Ayurvedic department has requested, however, the public not to be deceived by various Ayurvedic recipes published online and in social media, and to search for a cure basically for the coronavirus outbreak. Let's take a look.
These days, due to the spread of COVID-19, also known as coronavirus, some Ayurvedic doctors are displaying Ayurvedic prescriptions on social media as a cure. I request all Sri Lankans at this time not to use information from such unofficial sources regarding Ayurvedic recipes and to only use information which is given from official sources.
Now, yet another story that made the headlines before the coronavirus outbreak here in Sri Lanka was the general elections that are scheduled to take place on the 25th of April. And is there a possibility for the general elections to go ahead at such an instance or at a time like this? Let's find out.
Our main issue is we need to stop the convening of this meeting. Who will do the training for the officials at that point? The first problem we have is tomorrow, day after tomorrow, and the day after that. That is the 17th, 18th and 19th. How can we stop people coming together when submitting nominations? The next problem we will face is the carrying out of advisory classes. We have planned to have them from the 24th. The other thing is today is the last day for registration of postal voting. We have extended it till tomorrow. Then the work that must be done tomorrow and the work that must be done on the day after that, those will be doubled and will aggregate. The postponing of the election is something that the Commission cannot decide at this point of time. We have not arrived at a consensus yet to the effect that this decision should be arrived at either. As of the status at the moment, we will continue to accept nominations.
We consider the current situation in the country and request the chairman of the Election Commission to postpone the date set for nominations as well as the day for elections. He then stated that only the president has the power to postpone the date set for receiving nominations. Then when we spoke of the date for the election, he stated that he has the power to postpone the election. Whatever he said, however, was that all political party leaders in the country should come together and make a decision about this together. The Prime Minister has a large amount of power and a huge responsibility to consider this situation and postpone this election. How can we tell the people about our symbol? How can we notify them about our number? How can we carry out our election campaigns? The government can intervene to control this pandemic and then to proceed to have an independent, free and fair election in the country. We cannot let people be sacrificed so that they can take political advantage.
Now, the leader of the Samagi Jana Balavega, Ajith Premadasa, had this to say at a press briefing that was held at the party headquarters in Colombo today.
There's a lot of confusion, instability and uncertainty in the country. What has happened in this situation when it comes to foreign countries? All sports have been suspended. A number of elections have been postponed. The local council elections in the UK have been postponed until May. The primaries in Georgia have also been postponed. Even in our country, the schools have been closed down and all sporting events postponed as a result of the coronavirus. So in this kind of situation, can you carry out an election campaign? What is the wish of the people at a time like this? We want to save this country from the coronavirus. That is the expectation of this nation. We have no fear of elections. We can begin our campaign at this moment itself. We have recommended that starting tomorrow for a period of 14 days, that public rallies be suspended. We cancelled all those events. The government has many capacities. They are doing this also as a part of a shrewd tactic. What they must actually do is to suspend the election and find a solution to this corona issue. Please consider these facts and prioritize the lives of the voters over the two-third majority. I make a very clear request. Make the dissolution of parliament null and void, and let's have an election after the coronavirus issue is sorted. Let's have a provincial or even local government election if necessary. Recall the dissolution. That can be done through a gazette. Let's do so and spend the money allocated for the election to fight the coronavirus.
ඒ ගැසට් එකකින් කරලා අපි කොරෝනා වෛරසය මැඩ පවත්වන්නට මේ ඡන්දයට යන සල්ලි ටිකත් අපි හැමෝම දාමු ඒකට.
Now in more news from the political sphere of the country now, the Tamil National Alliance has requested the general election to be postponed, citing the current situation in Sri Lanka on COVID-19. Now in a statement, the TNA stated, at a time the virus is spreading rapidly, safety of the public needs to be given the utmost priority, and adding that it would support all measures taken towards the protection of the public. Meanwhile, the Washington Post has published 5 simulations that would aid in combating the coronavirus outbreak, that focuses mainly on social distancing, and some of the factors or some of the measures in the simulation published by the Washington Post is number 1, free for all, where there is no quarantine and no steps taken on social distancing. Number 2, which is attempted quarantine, where people would usually self-isolate themselves if they have suspicion that they might have contracted the coronavirus. Number 3 is moderate distancing, and number 4 is extensive distancing. Now these are various measures that are being taken with regards to the coronavirus outbreak in order for societies to combat the coronavirus outbreak, and this is one such measure. Therefore, by increasing social distancing, as we know, the contagion of the coronavirus is very fast, the transmission is very fast. Thereby, when you increase social distancing, or when the spread of the virus, when social distancing is increased, the spread of the virus can be curtailed as a result of this. And we would like to advise the general public once again that government authorities as well as various other competent authorities are taking the utmost care of all of the citizens in our country, including the health sector, the defense sector, and border control authorities and many other authorities. Therefore, it is your responsibility as a citizen to comply with all these measures and to also support the measures taken or the actions taken by the government and other authorities in disseminating or curtailing the dissemination of the coronavirus outbreak. And that is it for today. I have been Jamal Rathana for the Newsfirst team. It's back to the studio with Dasmi.
Political parties in crisis.
Well, thank you for that comprehensive update, Jamal. Moving on with some news from the political arena. The SLFP has decided to contest separately from the Athuraliye, Jaffna and Vanni districts. General Secretary of the SLFP, Dayasiri Jayasekara, said that the party will contest in the mentioned districts under the symbol of the hand.
A group including electoral and district organisers of the Sri Lanka Freedom Party gathered at the party headquarters today. This is the reason of the group when General Secretary of the party Dayasiri Jayasekara arrived at the party headquarters. Several rounds of discussions were held at the party headquarters, and Dayasiri Jayasekara spoke to the media about the decision that was made.
We hope to contest at the Sri Lanka Freedom Party in the Athuraliye, Jaffna and Vanni districts. We are taking steps to make necessary arrangements for that. Based on the decision of the Central Working Committee, we will see what we can do in the future, because there are many issues in preparing the nomination list of certain other districts.
අනෙක් දිස්ත්‍රික්කවල විශාල අර්බුද ගන්නවක් තියෙනවා නාම යෝජනා සකස් කිරීමේදී.
එතකොට මේ තනිව තරඟ කරන දිස්ත්‍රික්කවලට අත ලකුණ යටතේ තරඟ කරන්නේ?
අත ලකුණ යටතේ.
We will contest under the symbol of the hand. We are contesting under that symbol as the SLFP after 1991. We contested the provincial council election in 1991 under the symbol of the hand. Also, we are a party that contributed towards the victory of Gotabaya Rajapaksa. He did not expect this. He, as well as the general public of the country, expected that professionals and learned people in the nomination lists. You cannot include donkeys in the nomination list and expect horses to be elected to parliament. We are saying that if there was a list of suitable candidates, the people could have chosen from among them. But if there are no suitable people in the nomination list, the people do not have anyone to choose from.
LBC එකස්ම තමයි තියෙන්නේ.
ඔබතුමාලා වෙනම තරග කරත් කොහොම තරග කළත් අවසානයේ ගෝඨාභය රාජපක්ෂ මහතාට තමයි සහාය වෙන්නේ.
අනිවාර්යෙන් අපි මේ
Yes, definitely. They are trying to show that we are aligning ourselves with the UNP. If we were working with the UNP, why would we work towards the victory of Gotabaya Rajapaksa? We made Mahinda Rajapaksa the Prime Minister. When those things happened, no one spoke about an eagle. It is only now they remember the stories surrounding the eagle. We would like to inform the people that we will be fielding extremely good candidates in our nomination list and please support them.
ශ්‍රී ලංකා නිදහස් පක්ෂය අපි තාම හොඳ ලයිසු ඉදිරිපත් කරන්නේ. ඒ ලයිසු වලට ශක්තිය දෙන්න.
Party leader Champika Ranawaka, the leader of the Jathika Hela Urumaya, spoke critically on illegal orders issued using COVID-19 as an excuse. He was speaking at a media briefing at the headquarters of the Samagi Janabala Vegaya today.
The circular issued by the Secretary to the Ministry of Finance, SR article on the 10th of March 2020 completely violated the Constitution. It says, according to Article 150, subsection 3 of the Constitution, the President is vested with the power to use the consolidated fund to bear the expenses of the government for a period of 3 months with effect from the 6th of March 2020. The circular informed the Secretaries of the Ministries, Provincial Councils and the heads of departments to act accordingly. However, there is no such provision in the Constitution. The President can use money from the consolidated fund for 3 months from the 13th of May to the 13th of August. However, he is not vested with the power to use money from the consolidated fund from March to May, and this is in total violation of the Constitution. So we request all secretaries of ministries and heads of state departments to disregard this unconstitutional circular. We request the government to withdraw this circular because we do not want to take action against this when the country is facing a crisis. If the President wants, he can convene the previous Parliament to get approval for these monetary matters. We are ready to support them. It is completely illegal to act in such an unconstitutional manner. He is not planning on spending a small sum of money. He has proposed for an expenditure of 1,224 billion rupees. That is 1.224 trillion rupees. This is a serious violation.
පිළියන 1.224. ඉතින් මේක ඉතාමත්ම බරපතල නීති විරෝධී ව්‍යවස්ථා විරෝධී ක්‍රියාවලියක්.
A number of national organizations are to join former parliamentarian Venerable Athuraliye Rathana Thero in contesting the upcoming parliamentary elections. This was revealed at a press briefing convened earlier today.
When this government was elected, the main issue on law was one law for one country. They did not want other courts. The case on Hizbullah was not even taken up once. The MPs and the ministers of the Podujana Peramuna said universities and schools based on fundamentalism were illegal. Yet no discussion had taken place on it. We challenged this stance ahead of this election. We request the government to postpone the elections as a result of COVID-19. Fundamentalism receives funding from the Monetary Act. No one speaks of doing away with such legislation. The government must answer these questions. There is no dialogue on sustainable development. At the election, a large number of clergy will not contest. If there are strong leaders in the clergy, I would pave the way for that. We do not intend to contest the polls and we have not decided on that. We need to provide leadership. Several prominent monks are preparing to contest as district leaders. If we cannot find a suitable person as leader, that will be our alternative.
Basil
Rajapaksa is not a citizen of this country. He is a US citizen. He is controlling the country. I served as the Kalutali district leader for the Mahajana Extra Peramuna. He did not provide us with our quota even. However, a quota was given to Gammanpilla, who does not even have a proper party. Minor parties were treated unjustly. We worked for the president and towards his victory. I addressed 43 meetings in Kalutara for him, and we request a certain degree of power to raise our voice in parliament.
And that's a wrap of Primetime News for tonight. Before we leave you this evening, we would like to remind all our viewers to log on to www.coronavirus.lk for the latest verified and authentic news regarding the outbreak in the island. For the News First team, I'm Dasni Athada, along with our interpreter tonight, Brian De Cruz. Good night.